Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Sam's Financial Corner. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about the election results, what it means for the economy, and what it means for you. So this one's going to be kind of a hard one for a lot of people, but buckle up, we're going to go there. So number one, I've seen two things come up that I really want to touch on. Basically, a tariff and the Affordable Care Act. A tariff is a tax that's imposed on imported goods. A lot of people think the foreign company pays the tariff, but that's not true. The company that's purchased the goods. So for example, if we buy steel from China, and China, the company is here in the US, they buy it from China. China, they purchased it, China sends it. It's the company that pays the tariff. It is not the foreign company. And I think a lot of people have had that misconception. It is not the foreign company, it's the U.S. company. And we all know basic economics is that when the cost of making something, providing something goes up for the company, they always pass it on to the consumer. Company will ever eat the cost. It always goes to the consumer. So be prepared to see the price rise for almost everything. Why? Because we import a lot of things. I want you to take a moment, if you're home, pause the video. Look at your clothing, look at your kitchen, look in your bedroom, look and see where things are made from. And you will see that a lot of it, almost all of it, was not made here in the U.S. And that's okay, because trade is important. The reason why we have tariffs is sometimes tariffs are a way to help or to kind of make companies try to make more things in-house. But with the US, with laws and things like that, personnel costs are very expensive. And personnel costs are oftentimes cheaper in other countries. That's why you notice a lot of outsourcing. Like when I called and I needed to cancel my Comcast, I could tell by the accent because I had friends and family at this point in the Philippines. And so a lot of people outsource, a lot of companies outsource. Why? Because it's cheaper. It's cheaper labor. Sometimes the cost of getting the goods is cheaper. And sometimes some countries are really just good and have the raw materials to make things at a cheaper price. There's nothing wrong with that. Trade is good. Trade is good. However, with the tariffs that we've heard talked about, when they're imposed, they're not going to be good for the American consumer. When the cost of everything goes up, guess what? Those people who have maybe a little disposable income are going to see it gone. Those who are already struggling are going to struggle further. And I'm going to talk about tricks that we can do and things we can do to manage this rough road ahead of us. Number two, the Affordable Care Act. A lot of people I don't like Obamacare. Obamacare and Affordable Care Act are the same things. Republicans called it Obamacare. And a lot of people, unfortunately, ran with that. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but if you know, you know. And so a lot of people did not want, they don't want the Affordable Care Act repealed, but they're like, get rid of Obamacare. They're the same thing. And unfortunately, a lot of people are going to suffer from that because one of the aspects of the program, and I know that there were people who didn't like it, complained, they were proponents, whatever, totally get it. No, it wasn't a perfect program, but a lot of Americans needed health care. And you couldn't be denied if you had a pre-existing condition. And for a lot of people, that was the case. And so now, who knows what we'll see. But I think that it's interesting because even though this new administration that we're about to go into, I think is going to negatively affect a lot of Americans, I think it's a wake-up call that a lot of Americans needed. A lot of Americans have been ignorant, for lack of a better term, about the economy, about how things work, and how a lot of things are interdependent. One thing I tell a lot of people when you're comparing this country to another, for example, I remember a lot of years ago, a couple years, over a decade I think it was, where Haiti had the big floods and people lost their homes. And a lot of people are like, why are they complaining? Don't they have homeowners insurance? No, that's a U.S. thing. The EBT programs, the first-time home buyers, there's so many programs and systems of support, or like the school lunch programs that a lot of people rely on to supplement income that they don't have. We're going to see a lot of that disappear. So we got to really brace for impact. So what I want to advise you to do is do two things. Number one, if you're not saving, you're going to need to save more. Number two, you need to pay down your debts, because you're going to need more cash for other things, and you can't afford to be somebody else's income. You couldn't now, but you can't now more than ever. Number three, for some of you all, it's going to be best if you do or have what I call, or is it a term, I don't know, intergenerational living, where there are multiple generations living under one house. And I think that's how it's going to have to be. Why? Because if costs, and we've seen rents skyrocket, we've seen a lot of things, and this administration looks to take away a lot of the benefits and social welfare programs that a lot of people not only want, but need and rely on. And so a lot of people are going to have to come together. They're going to have to find ways to survive, basically, for lack of a better term. So what I want to leave you with, and if you got this far, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. I really want to make sure, and I'm going to really be talking a lot more about the economy and what this means, because with the way things are going, we may end up with tariffs and other things. We may hit a recession. We probably will, and maybe a recessed depression, where it's a recession and depression at the same time. A lot of things are going to change. And unfortunately, with this type of administration, there's so much uncertainty. You don't know what's going to happen. It's almost like watching a train wreck in slow motion. You don't know what's going to happen. Is it going to explode? Is it going to flip over? You don't know what's going to happen. And with this administration, we know that Project 2025 is out there, and it's very real, and it looks to strip away a lot of, protections that people have. And I think it's unfortunate, because a lot of people saw or see this Republican versus Democrat as like your favorite teams fighting against each other. My team won, your team lost. Okay. But the only difference is in this, if it's a basketball game, football game, boxing, whatever it is, your player, your team loses. At the end of the day, you go back to your lives. There's no significant change to your livelihood, your life. But with this, there is. And I mean, just with the talks I've seen people, this one guy said he cut off his mother and father. He said, because you voted against my rights. He said, I'm a gay man. You voted against my rights, and I could lose that. A lot of people have already started to cut people off. Divorces, a lot of things are happening. Why? Because a lot of people just did not understand the ramifications. And I'm just going to say it. A lot of it has to do with prejudice and racism in this country. A lot of it has to do with entitlement, and the biggest thing is ignorance. And I can even include myself to a certain degree. I'm not a big fan of politics, try not to get into it, but we all need to learn more. And the fact that a lot of people who were on the Affordable Care Act and benefit from it didn't know it because they thought it was Obamacare, and they added there was this negativity attached to that. And so unfortunately, a lot of people are going to suffer. And that's the point that I want to make. A lot of us are going to suffer. However, we're going to have to learn to adapt. We're going to have to learn to change. And we're going to have to see really what happens in these next 4 years, and the way that Project 25 is talking about, like, they want to get rid of systems altogether. So we got a road ahead of us, but I want to encourage everyone to stay strong. It's okay if you feel sad. It's okay if you feel scared, but keep going. But another thing too that I want to mention too is that we're going to see, and I want to say this, so mass deportation, that's already come up. A lot of people they want to deport are the people who pick our food and do these things for us. And with that gone, there's going to be a ripple effect in the market. What I want people to understand, and I hope that you walk away from this video and understand that a lot of times as Americans, we have this mentality that everything is independent and operates independent of each other. And that's not the case. Everything is interdependent. If you take away the Department of Education, there's going to be ripples effect. If you take away SNAP, if you take away food programs, if you take away countless things, increased costs, they have ripple effects throughout the economy. And so what I want to encourage people to do is be true to yourself, look out for yourself, look out for your families, band together, think of ways if you can save. If you need to live with family, do so. If not, I understand. I understand people who said they voted for XYZ. I can't support them. I'm cutting them off. I'm going no contact. I'm in full agreement with that. Because you know what? This is about rights. And I think a lot of people miss that because they wanted to vote. And a lot of times they wanted to vote a certain way. And a lot of people feel like if it doesn't affect me, it doesn't matter. And as human beings, we have to remember that all things affect us, even if it's not directly. So I want you to remember that. I encourage you all to pay attention, look out for each other, find ways to save, find ways to cut costs, whatever you can do, because we got a bumpy road ahead of us. Take care. No thoughts and prayers. It's just time for action, and we all are going to have to get our money up. So I'll see you all in the next video. Take care. God bless.